Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that financial suffering is not your destiny, but a mindset you've been conditioned to accept? What if the struggle you feel every day, the anxiety over bills, the fear of not having enough, is not a life sentence, but a message telling you it's time to change? We live in a world overflowing with opportunities, yet millions are trapped in lack. Not because of fate, not because they are lazy or undeserving, but because they were never taught how to break free. Society trained us to work hard for money, but never to let money work for us. They told us to save pennies but never to think abundantly. The truth is this: you can end financial suffering forever, but not with a quick fix, not with luck, with mindset, with systems, with daily habits that align with wealth, not worry. When you decide to stop living paycheck to paycheck in your heart, your outer world begins to shift. It's not about having $1 million tomorrow. It's about choosing to believe that money is a tool, not a curse. It's about replacing fear with financial intelligence, hesitation with action, and scarcity with faith. There is no magic formula, but there is a powerful process, and it begins when you say, "I've had enough of suffering." You don't need to win the lottery. You need to win your mind back from fear. The root of financial suffering often lies not in our external circumstances, but in our internal beliefs. Many of us were raised in environments where scarcity was normal, where we constantly heard phrases like "we can't afford that," "money doesn't grow on trees," or "rich people are greedy." These subtle, repeated messages etched into our subconscious the idea that money is limited and hard to come by. Over time, we started to see the world through a filter of lack. We stopped seeing opportunities and began to see only barriers. This scarcity mindset became the lens through which we made all financial decisions, leading to fear, self-doubt, and missed chances. An abundance mindset, on the other hand, begins with a deep inner conviction there is more than enough to go around. It's the belief that wealth is not a zero-sum game, and that someone else's success does not diminish your own potential. When you shift into this way of thinking, your mind begins to search for possibility instead of limitation. You start asking different questions, not "why is this happening to me?" but "what can I learn from this?" Instead of saying, "I'll never be able to afford that," you ask, "how can I create a way to afford it?" That subtle shift in language transforms the brain from passive to proactive, from helpless to powerful. The problem with the scarcity mindset is that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe there is never enough, you'll act like there's never enough. You'll hoard, fear loss, avoid risk, and stay small. You'll say no to investments, to learning, to launching ideas, because deep down, you're trying to protect yourself from imaginary threats. The irony is, by trying to avoid financial pain, you actually trap yourself in it. In contrast, those who operate from abundance are willing to invest in themselves, trust in their future, and take strategic risks. Because they don't see failure as final, they see it as part of the journey to more. Abundance doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending you're rich when you're not. It means focusing on what's possible, not just what's lacking. It means seeing every dollar you earn, save, or invest as a tool for expansion, not just survival. It's the discipline to be grateful for what you have while also reaching confidently for more. Gratitude is not complacency, it's fuel. When you appreciate what you have, you create emotional space to receive more. Your mindset becomes magnetic to ideas, connections, and solutions that a scarcity mind would never even notice. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires daily repetition, self-awareness, and sometimes even unlearning decades of inherited fear. But every time you catch yourself thinking, "I can't," and replace it with "I can find a way," you are training your brain to think abundantly. Every time you choose faith over fear, generosity over hoarding, or education over ignorance, you're moving closer to the mindset that creates real, lasting wealth. Ending financial suffering starts here. Inside your mind, in the quiet decisions no one sees, in the thoughts you feed yourself daily. Financial literacy is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Yet most people were never taught how money actually works. Schools rarely teach budgeting, taxes, credit management, investing, or the true meaning of assets versus liabilities. As a result, many adults enter the workforce knowing how to earn money, but not how to manage, grow, or protect it. Without this foundational knowledge, people fall into traps, paying excessive interest, living paycheck to paycheck, or saving in ways that don't outpace inflation. Financial ignorance leads to dependency. It leaves people vulnerable to debt cycles, emotional spending, and even financial manipulation. To end financial suffering forever, mastering money must become a personal mission. Understanding financial literacy means seeing money as a system, not just paper or numbers on a screen. It's about knowing how to use money strategically to build the life you want. This includes creating a monthly budget, understanding your net worth, tracking your cash flow, and planning for long-term goals. You must learn how compound interest works, how to avoid high-interest debt, and how to distinguish between good debt, which can build wealth, and bad debt, which drains it. The financially literate person does not fear bills or taxes. They anticipate and plan for them. They don't leave their financial fate to chance, they take ownership. But financial literacy goes beyond just personal budgeting. It's also about learning the language of wealth. Wealthy people think in terms of percentages, leverage, return on investment, equity, and cash flow. They know how to analyze opportunities. They understand the tax code and how to use legal structures like corporations or trusts to protect their assets. They don't rely on guesswork. They rely on information. To play the game of wealth, you must learn its rules. If you don't, you'll always be at the mercy of those who do. Knowledge is not just power, it's profit. Every financial decision, no matter how small, becomes sharper and smarter the more you educate yourself. Luckily, in the age of the internet, learning about money has never been easier or more accessible. There are thousands of books, podcasts, online courses, and YouTube channels dedicated to helping people understand finances. The key is to be intentional. Make learning about money a daily or weekly habit, just like working out or eating well. Pick one book a month, listen to one financial expert a week, or spend 15 minutes each morning learning a new financial concept. The effort adds up. Over time, the fog lifts. You begin to see clearly. Your confidence grows. You stop fearing money and start using it as the tool it was meant to be. Most importantly, financial literacy gives you the ability to make informed decisions that support your goals. It allows you to stop reacting to financial emergencies and start proactively building a life of stability and freedom. It empowers you to save with purpose, invest with confidence, and spend with awareness. You become someone who doesn't just make money, but makes money work for them. That shift is transformative. It ends the cycle of confusion, anxiety, and regret, and replaces it with strategy, control, and freedom. Relying on a single source of income is one of the riskiest financial positions a person can be in. Many people live with the illusion of security just because they have a steady job. But what happens if that job disappears due to downsizing, automation, economic shifts, or personal health issues? One paycheck, no matter how large, is fragile if it's your only source. This is why the wealthy don't depend on a single stream. They diversify. They don't just earn income. They build it. Having multiple income streams not only increases your earning potential, but it also provides financial protection and peace of mind. It transforms you from being dependent to being resilient. Creating multiple streams doesn't mean working 3 or 4 jobs. It means building different types of income: active, passive, and portfolio income. Active income comes from your labor, your job or service. Passive income comes from sources that continue to pay you after the initial work is done, like book royalties, affiliate marketing, or rental properties. Portfolio income comes from investments like stocks, dividends, or business equity. When these are working together, they create a financial ecosystem where money flows from multiple directions. Even if one source dries up, others keep the stream alive. That's not just wealth building, it's financial sovereignty. The internet has made this easier than ever. Side hustles can start from your phone or laptop. You can monetize your skills on freelance platforms, start a YouTube channel, create digital products like courses or ebooks, invest in dividend paying stocks, or build a dropshipping business. You can even rent out a room on Airbnb or lease your car. What used to require massive capital or technical expertise is now available to anyone with grit, creativity, and consistency. The question is no longer, can I do it? But what am I willing to learn to make it happen? Every stream you create adds another layer of safety and possibility, but multiple streams require intention. Not all income streams are equal, and not all are worth your time. You need to assess your strengths, interests, and available time before diving in. Choose streams that align with your long-term goals and your energy. Some people thrive in e-commerce, others prefer content creation. Some want to build physical businesses, while others lean toward real estate or stock market investing. The goal is to develop streams that not only produce income, but also compound over time. Streams that grow even when you're not working. That's when income becomes scalable and freedom becomes real. Building multiple streams is not about overnight success, it's about long-term strategy. You start small. Maybe it's an extra $100 a month, then it's $500, then $1000. Over time, one stream turns into two, then three, and each begins feeding the next. You begin to reinvest earnings from one stream into another, compounding your results. And with every new stream, you reclaim more control over your time, your decisions, and your future. It's not about hustling forever, it's about building until your income works harder than you do. One of the most overlooked yet deeply influential forces shaping our financial lives is our emotional relationship with money. Long before we ever earned or spent a dollar, we formed emotional beliefs about money, most of them unconsciously. These beliefs often come from childhood experiences, family dynamics, cultural narratives, or early moments of scarcity and shame. If you grew up hearing, "we can't afford that," or watching your parents fight about money, you may have internalized fear or guilt around wealth. If you were told that wanting more makes you greedy, you may now self-sabotage whenever you try to succeed financially. These emotional imprints shape how we earn, save, spend, and even feel about money. Money isn't just mathematical, it's deeply psychological. People often assume they have money problems when what they really have are emotional blockages. Think about the fear of looking at your bank account, the anxiety before paying bills, the guilt after buying something for yourself, or the discomfort in charging your worth in business. These aren't numbers-based problems, they're rooted in self-worth, fear, and unresolved emotional trauma. Until you become aware of your inner money narrative, you'll unconsciously repeat patterns that keep you stuck in lack. Healing begins with bringing those patterns into the light and asking, where did this belief come from? Is it even true? Journaling, self-reflection, and therapy can be powerful tools in this process. Start asking yourself key questions like, what did I learn about money growing up? How did my caregivers handle finances? What messages did I receive about rich people or success? These answers often reveal deep emotional wounds, feelings of unworthiness, scarcity, or even the belief that money is dangerous. But the beautiful truth is this: once you identify those emotional blocks, you can start to rewrite the script. You are not your past. You are not your parents' bank balance. You are not the stories you were told in survival mode. You are the author now, and the pen is in your hands. Emotional healing around money also involves reestablishing trust in yourself. Many people carry guilt over past financial mistakes, credit card debt, bad investments, or years of unconscious spending. But guilt does not create growth. What does? Compassion, responsibility, forgiveness. You must forgive yourself for not knowing better in the past, and commit to learning better now. Every lesson was preparing you for mastery. Releasing shame clears the space for wisdom, and from that space, new behaviors can grow. Intentional spending, empowered investing, and confident financial planning. Emotional healing is not weak. It is the strongest foundation on which lasting wealth is built. Lastly, healing your emotional relationship with money allows you to experience wealth not as something you chase, but as something you embody. When you feel worthy of abundance, you stop hoarding or overspending to prove something. When you feel at peace with money, it stops controlling you. You become calm, clear, and conscious in your financial life, and that energy attracts opportunities, resources, and support. Money begins to flow more freely, not because you're forcing it, but because you're finally aligned with it. The inner work reflects in the outer world. Heal the relationship, and the results will follow. At some point, knowledge must give way to motion. You can read every financial book, follow all the right podcasts, take courses, and visualize wealth daily. But without action, transformation never takes root. Many people stay stuck not because they lack information, but because they lack the courage to begin. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect conditions, and that wait becomes their prison. The truth is, financial breakthrough isn't found in giant leaps. It's built on small, daily steps, consistently taken, even when fear is loud and uncertainty looms. Action turns dreams into results and knowledge into power. The most important part of action is not perfection, it's consistency. Start where you are, open that savings account, create your first budget, cancel one unnecessary subscription, begin tracking your income and expenses, make that first $10 investment. These may seem small, but they are symbolic. They signal to your brain and the universe that you are serious, that you are moving. Every financial giant you admire once made their first awkward, uncertain step. They didn't wait until they felt ready. They got ready by doing. Each action builds confidence, and confidence fuels momentum. With every small win, your belief in what's possible expands. Courageous action also means stepping out of your comfort zone, especially when it comes to money. This might mean having uncomfortable conversations about debt, raising your rates in business, negotiating your salary, or learning to say no to impulsive spending. It might mean launching that side hustle, asking for help, or finally confronting your financial habits. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's movement through fear. The difference between those who remain in financial struggle and those who rise out of it often comes down to who is willing to take messy, imperfect action. Even while trembling, wealth responds to motion, not hesitation. Many people underestimate how powerfully consistency compounds over time. That $50 saved every week becomes over $600 a year. That one blog post a week becomes a business in 12 months. That daily financial journal rewires your mindset over time. Success isn't about grand gestures. It's about the daily grind, the invisible effort that most people overlook. When you show up for your money every day, money begins to show up for you in ways you never imagined. You develop discipline, self-respect, and a quiet power. These traits don't just make you richer financially. They make you unshakable mentally and emotionally. Taking action also aligns you with the energy of wealth. Money is not static. It flows, and you must flow with it. When you act, you step into that flow. Opportunities begin to appear because your eyes are open and your heart is engaged. You attract mentors, ideas, solutions, and sometimes even miracles. But none of it happens without that first move. The most successful people aren't always the smartest or most talented. They're simply the ones who took more action than others were willing to. They failed forward, they learned fast, and most importantly, they never stopped moving. So now, the truth is clear. Financial suffering is not permanent. It is not a life sentence handed down to you because of your past, your family, your education, or your circumstances. It is a condition that can be changed, transformed, and reversed, starting with one decision, the decision to take back control. You've learned that ending financial struggle doesn't begin with money itself. It begins with your mindset, your education, your courage, and your willingness to act when it's uncomfortable. It begins with healing the wounds you carry about wealth. It begins when you stop surviving and start building. when you stop reacting and start creating. This isn't about chasing luxury just for the sake of status. It's about freedom, the freedom to breathe, the freedom to give, the freedom to live fully, with peace, dignity, and purpose. That freedom comes when you rise above fear and commit to becoming the wealth steward you were always meant to be. You are not helpless, you are not too late, you are not unworthy, you are powerful, you are capable, and if you decide, truly decide, that you've had enough of living in financial stress, then this can be the moment everything changes. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. End financial suffering forever. Because your life, your dreams, and your legacy are far too important to be controlled by lack. Choose wealth, choose freedom, choose to rise.